I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, October the 21st, brought to you in part by Zactran, an antibiotic by Boehringer Ingelheim, which is approved for the treatment and control of bovine respiratory disease. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are in the market for some treatment and control of bovine respiratory disease. Being here in October and dead calf month, a lot of you guys still struggling to wean your calves. A lot of you guys having new arrivals that you're trying to get straightened out. But remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information, go to zactran.com or visit with your BI rep. Market transparency and more specifically the Market Transparency Act. Well, I told you guys on our previous visit to start the week out about the 75% plan by NCBA, which they're asking for 75% of what they have perceived to be robust trade and 75% of packer participation. And then if you don't get that within a slotted amount of time within not the 5-area feeding region but the 4-area feeding region, because we don't get any information out of Colorado anymore, so they threw that in with Nebraska. But if we don't achieve those 75% goals, then each time that we don't get 75% robust trade, or we don't get 75% packer participation, then that is a minor trigger. And then if you get 3 minor triggers within a slotted amount of time, then that's a major trigger. And then if you have 2 major triggers within a slotted amount of time, at that point NCBA is going to pursue something that would either regulatory through legislation that would help us achieve a fair market within our finished cattle trade. Well, that release and that news did not impress most of your larger affiliates, state affiliates of your cattle associations within each state. And so Missouri Cattlemen's Association put out a press release, and that's the main one that I saw. There may have been many others, but my friend Mike Deering, the leader there at Missouri Cattlemen's Association, and they have been instrumental in trying to get something straightened out here. Very instrumental about it. I want to give them all the kudos. A lot of your cattlemen's associations up in the Midwest and the Corn Belt have been trying, but in particular Missouri Cattlemen's has been pressing hard. And on this report, I'm going to continue to push anything that will give us minimum cash trade requirement, because if we don't get something done about this, guys, I mean, we're going towards the way of the hogs and the chickens so fast it'll make your head spin, and we've got to get something done about that. But Missouri Cattlemen's Association put out a press release on Tuesday, and they are supporting the Cattle Market Transparency Act. That's the one that Deb Fischer, the Republican from Nebraska, has put forth, which would give us some flexibility but would mandate a minimum cash trade requirement within each region. And then all your major packing facilities within each region would have to abide by that. So it also asked for more transparency to try to get through some of the confidentiality rules that livestock mandatory price reporting has in it. So it's a pretty good bill with a lot more flexibility than 5014. I tell you what, your NCBA and their Southern Plains affiliates, the ones that have the most money, you guys as checkoff dollars, they beat up our 5014 bill pretty bad at their summer meeting there in late July. They tried to shoot it full of holes, and they've used their lobbyists, and they've tried to get everybody they could to keep that from going forth. Well, now we've seen this new bill, the Cattle Market Transparency Act, which the name of it just makes you feel good all over, and it was introduced by Deb Fischer, and there's a lot of support for it, guys, a lot of support. Then we've had the similar type bill come in the House, and it was introduced by Vicki Hartzler, and she's from Missouri. And we've got a lot, and we've got bipartisan support in the Senate, and we're pushing for that in the House. But with the Missouri Cattlemen's release, they also included 16 other state affiliates that have signed on to the letter that they sent to Pat Roberts, who is the Senate Ag Committee chairman. Thank God he's just about done, because he had ties to lobbyists with the Packers that would not allow anything like this to happen. So good riddance to Pat Roberts. We can't wait for him to ride off into the sunset, and we'll get a new Senate Ag Committee chairman that may put this up for debate and eventually up for a vote. But they also sent a copy of this letter along with all the other 16 state affiliates to Colin Peterson, who is the head of the House Ag Committee there. So they're starting to get something done with that. They weren't impressed by the 75% robust trade, 75% Packer participation, and then all the outs that were available, so that plan would never really come into play, and they wouldn't have to make their Packer buddies mad, or any of their big corporate feeders mad that are in bed with the Packers. But I want to give a shout out to every one of the states that signed on to this bill and sent letters in to those Ag Committee chairmen. And like I said, Missouri was the main one that sent out this press release. But I want to give a shout out to all the other states, and you guys listen for your state. And if you don't hear your state and you're a member of your affiliate, your state affiliate, your cattlemen's organization, get on their ass and tell them that, hey, what are you guys doing? This bill, much like 5014, much like 3014 that I was pushing, but any kind of minimum negotiated cash trade bill, idea, whatever you want to call it, any of those is more for your cow-calf producers and your backgrounders and your stocker operators than it is for your feedlots. I mean, it's going to embolden that one price fat cattle market. Most of your big feeders are hedged up, so they're not as concerned with the market. They're more concerned with the basis. We saw that on Tuesday after a big downer on Monday. But we need a really strong one cash price market each week, because everything else is a derivative of that. Your yearling prices, your board, your calf market, everything is a derivative of that one price. And we've got to get a little bit of leverage back in the market. But look at all these states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Mississippi, Nebraska, New Mexico signed on. We got to give it to them. A Southern Plains affiliate right there. I want to give Randall Major, their leader there, a big kudo there for getting New Mexico signed on, because there's a lot of pressure for them to throw in with Texas cattle feeders or Oklahoma or one of these outfits that's really fighting this deal. But New Mexico stood strong and threw in with their Southeastern brothers and their Corn Belt brothers. New Mexico, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, got to give Oregon some credit, way out there in the great Northwest, South Dakota, Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. A lot of cattle in those states, guys, represented. A lot of cattle producers represented with those state affiliates and those state associations and cattle organizations there. But all of those states have signed on to this cattle market transparency Act, and I hope we can get something done there. There seems to be a lot of support for it. So you guys get familiar with it and push the heads of your grassroots or your state associations to get with it and get behind this deal too. Let's see, on Tuesday, after the big downer on Monday with the board crashing and testing new expanded limits there, we did see recovery, and even in the morning on Tuesday, the board was down again pretty good at points, and I talked to several people. They thought that the sky was actually falling, and then people kind of got their breath later on in the day before the trading session ended, but we did see some recovery there. Our feeder cattle markets are still crap. I tell you what, in all of your sale barns, and you're getting these small bunches of these unweaned balling calves with no shots, and then they're sold in small bunches, and the sales drag on. Nobody's got a hold for them. Nobody wants them. There's no place to put them. Our feedlots, for the most part, are full. Our growing yards are getting filled up, and it is so dry everywhere that there's just very few places to turn those calves out, and you've got to get them straightened up first. If you just turn some of these high-risk calves out, I tell you what, it'll be a total wreck, guys, because it's too much stress on them to just turn these calves out. They've been through too much. You've got to get them. You got to get them eating good. You got to get them comfortable in their new surroundings. You're likely going to have to give them some medicine, and then of course you're going to have to give them their vaccinations before you can move on with them. But we did see a gasp of breath there. We saw a little bit more trade in your fat cattle arena. Some of it was lower, some of it holding a little better. The trade got established pretty much in the Southern Plains, mostly because of what I said earlier about the basis. So we'll go on and start talking about the board. For Tuesday, October live cattle futures up 12 cents. I know that's nothing compared to how far down it was on Monday, but just glad to get it back on the plus side, ending the day at 104.12. Now that's significant because our last established market was $1.08, and these hedged feeders are a lot more comfortable when the cash market is above the board because it gives them a little bit of a basis to trade on there. So we had the Southern Plains trading fat cattle at 106 on Tuesday. Actually, if you look at the basis there compared to the 104, that gives them $2 there. They're just as happy or happier with that 106 trade with the board at 104 than they were at last week's 108. So it's kind of a push for them, and you kind of see how our cow-calf people and our backgrounders and stockers kind of get the short end of the stick here. You know, the market's down. The board's down big. The board's down $4 from where it was last week. Your fat cattle market's down $2. Most of your cattle feeders are okay with where we're at. But those guys that rely on that one price, cash price up there, that everything else feeds off of, they're left holding the shitty end of the stick. Let's look at December live cattle futures. We're up 30 cents at 105.45. You go on out from there, your out fronts on live cattle up 47 cents to up $1.07. October feeder cattle down a dime's all. Of course, they were down really hard on Monday, but down just a dime. That kind of makes you feel a little bit better, but 134.50 based on an 800-pound steer, and we're well into October, guys, and that is a good $2 lower than what our most recent index levels are. So we're not holding that up very good. November, which actually touched the new $5 limit down on Monday, was up 70 cents on Tuesday at 130.77, and then you get to your out fronts on feeder cattle, and they were very supportive. You go on out from November, and they were up $1.47 to up $2.40, so that gives us some confidence. And you think, well, were grains down? No, grains were actually higher again. Corn was up 3.5 cents on December at 408 3/4, and you're thinking, my gosh, all summer we were at 310 a bushel, just kind of hanging in there. Yes, we've gained $1 a bushel right in the face of harvest, and this harvest is moving right along, guys. Your beans, November beans are up 9 3/4 cents a bushel on Tuesday, ending at 10.64. So guys are going right into the elevator with their beans and selling them right out of the field and getting along better than what they thought. Hogs were down big, which it's just kind of curious. Your hogs were up big on Monday when cattle were down hard, and then hogs down big on Tuesday with your cattle board kind of recovering some. Not really recovering, but at least holding together a little bit. Your fat cattle trade on Tuesday. We haven't seen significant trade, but we've seen some trade, and like I said, likely we've established a market in the Southern Plains at 106, but we really haven't established it fully in the Northern Plains. Iowa confirmed sales of about 2,000 head on Tuesday. 103 to mostly 104. We hope that 104 is not your established market in the Northern Plains. 163 to mostly 166, and likely 166 is your dressed market. That's $2 to $3 lower dressed than last week. Nebraska, about 3,200 head confirmed from 104 to 105 live, and 166 dressed, and like I said, that was $2 to $3 lower. Kansas, 2,800 head, all at 106, and that's straight up $2 lower. Texas had just 1,300 head, but for the week already through Tuesday, 9,800 head in Texas, all at 106. And why is that 9,800 head significant? That would satisfy your 75% robust trade, guys. So if you're really feeling great about selling less than 10,000 head in Texas and all the feedlots that we have in the Texas Panhandle, we've already satisfied the 75% robust, which if we get that plan enacted, that would satisfy those at NCBA not to look into things any further. And this is on through Tuesday afternoon on a sharply down market. Box beef cutout values. Choice cuts up 86 cents at 210.60. Selects down 17 cents at 191.67. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DB auction late in the day on Tuesday at 136.32, down $1.35. So it's just catching up. I tell you what, as we have some higher prices drop off the other end of the 7-day moving average. And we see new sales having the sharply down markets that we saw on Monday. It's just going to continue to drop. But some of your big sales around on Tuesday, Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, had kind of a lighter run for them. And I bet Randy Patterson and everybody involved was glad that they had a lighter run, even though they get paid on commission. But tell you what, it's just hard to sell calves in the middle of October here with these big temperature swings on a down market, and it's just like pulling teeth. 2,100 head there, and West Plains calves were $3 to $7 lower. And I tell you what, my friend and former co-worker there, Dan Hill, state market reporter for the state of Missouri, Missouri Department of Ag, he had one of the main statements here that really sums up all of October. He stated in his market report, demand moderate on weaned calves and light on balling calves. You think, well, that's not novel. Nope. But he said it. He said it in the least amount of words you can use in the most direct way to say it. I tell you what, he must have had a good trainer there, because he's doing a good job reporting the markets in south central Missouri. But just remember that. Demand moderate on weaned calves and light on balling calves. How about some other sales? Philip, the Giant, Philip, South Dakota, they were still having their sale 10 o'clock at night on Tuesday as I was putting this report together. Didn't have their report available, but we can pull your automated report out of these sales while the sale's still going on. I mean, the market on the stuff that they've already sold is still good, just hadn't finished up the cleanup deal there. But late in the evening on Tuesday, they had already sold 7,000 head. I'd seen that they were expecting around 8,000 head, so they were still selling on those calves late in the day at Phillip Livestock in Phillip, South Dakota. But I looked at your automated market report here and saw that it was sure a down market, and that's just the way things are, guys. But steer calves, your best tested weights for selling $4 to $7 lower. Heifer calves trading $1 to $6 lower, and I don't care how fancy they are, how good the calves are, or where you're at in the country, the market's still lower. But you look at your best tested weights on calves there out of Phillip, South Dakota. On steers, they had nearly 2,800 head of 5-weight steer calves. They averaged 556 at 156.32. That's a better price on the weighted average on 2,800 head than you could get on an individual string anywhere else, but that's still $4 lower than last week. 914 head of 6-weight steer calves in Phillip averaged 643 at 150.24. That'd be $7 lower on those bigger calves. I'll tell you what. Heifers, 605 head of the 4-weight heifer calves average 465, 143.73. That'd be $6 lower. 760 head of the 5-weight heifer calves average 538, 138.79, and that was about $2.50 lower than the weighted average from the previous week. But they did sell some calves, very impressive there. And I want to give you an impressive quote out of Phillip Livestock Auction there on some lightweight steer calves. 118 head of steer calves weighed 482 at 172.50. That's impressive quote. I don't care if it's a down market or where it's at. That's a big quote. Did have some yearling sightings around, and there's still good demand for true yearlings and where they are available. But don't be mistaken. We're completely overwhelmed with calves because everybody thinks they want a spring calf, and there's just way too many calves to choke this time of year. People selling them right off the cow, and some of them are weaned, but there's just too many of them. We need more fall calvers, guys. We never see a problem with too many numbers of calves selling in the springtime that we don't have a place to put them, because we have lots of places to turn them out on green grass. Okay, how about some of the yearling sightings we saw? How about Denny Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas, sold 65 head, 890-pound yearling steers, 143. And then Unionville Livestock Market, north central Missouri there. Kurt and Heather Sporleader, happened to be Kurt Sporleader's birthday. I think he was 67 or something like that. I'm not sure about that. I'm just going by the way it kind of looks. But Unionville Livestock Market had an awful good sale, and they did have some yearlings, including the Rockin' R Farms yearling cattle. They're backgrounded cattle, and they always sell top of the market there. They're from Lucerne, Missouri. They sold 4 loads of yearling steers there, average 905 pounds at 137.43. But the best quote that I saw anywhere come from a buddy of mine's sale barn in North Platte, Nebraska. North Platte Stockyards. Kyle Lehman's doing a heck of a job trying to resurrect that sale barn that had kind of fallen on hard times, but doing a heck of a job getting some good runs and getting top prices there, right there in central Nebraska. But 81 head, 530-pound steer calves in North Platte Stockyards bring 163.50. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.